So here we are, America, less than 4 weeks from what we will look back on as one of, if not the most important, presidential election of our lifetime. A selection process that will reverberate for generations, where the effects of whom we surrender the White House washroom keys to will delight, challenge, and dismay future generations. The ones who will look back on this time, study what was done, what was said, why it all occurred, and likely in the end ask themselves one very simple question. What in the name of the evolution which brought us from slime-crawling amoeba to biped-opposable thumb thinkers and dreamers were they thinking of? Because it makes no difference whom you're voting for, what you consider about their policies or lack thereof. One must consider not just where we go from here, but how we got here and how long it will take to repair any damage. Of course, Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump will tell you there is no damage, save for what others are doing and others are saying. And when it comes to accountability and responsibility, the tenets of true leadership, neither one's exactly lighting it up. Though one can say they are both at the forefront of what is burning our current political system into the scorched earth of history we will one day seek to forget ever happened. There you go. Welcome to this edition of America Talks Live. I am your guide through history, both past and future, Ed Berliner, inviting you to join us this hour with your comments at 1-877-NEWSMAX. 1-877-639-7629. And let me begin by posing a question for your consideration. If we are indeed watching the implosion of Democratic and Republican parties before our eyes, might it not be a bad thing in light of these stench-ridden zombies they have both become? We'll get to it right after Miranda Khan deals the Daily Update. Miranda?
Thanks, Ed. Catholics call on Hillary Clinton to fire her communications director, Jennifer Palmieri. The request comes after WikiLeaks released a 2011 email chain in which Palmieri made statements about Catholics like this one. I imagine they think that it is the most socially acceptable, politically conservative religion. Their rich friends wouldn't understand if they became evangelicals. Donald Trump doubles down on his attacks against House Speaker Paul Ryan, this time saying he doesn't want his support.
The fact is that I think we should get support, and we don't get the support from guys like Paul Ryan. And I don't really want his support. You know, if he calls now and wants to, this happens all the time. If you sneeze, he calls up and announces. Isn't that a terrible thing? So look, I don't want his support. I don't care about his support.
Trump's remarks came after Ryan said that he would no longer defend or campaign for the Republican presidential nominee. Trump expanded on the rift in a Twitter storm against establishment Republicans, tweeting at Speaker Ryan that he is a weak and ineffective leader, even going as far as calling Republicans disloyal and more difficult than Hillary Clinton for those that oppose him. The troubles continue, though, for Trump after his gaffe at a campaign event in Florida. Take a listen.
There's never been anything like this. So go and register. Make sure you get out and vote November 28th.
Of course, the election is actually scheduled for November 8th, not the 28th. For much more on these stories, be sure to head over to newsmax.com. Ed, back to you.
Thank you, Miranda. All right, welcome back to America Talks Live. The gentleman who will now begin our discourse for the day. The former head of FEMA, which means he understands exactly what happens behind the not-so-magic curtains. Now rocking the Rocky Mountain airwaves as afternoon talker at 6:30 KHOW in Denver, Colorado, Michael Brown, joined by one who also served his nation, in this case with the Navy SEALs, author of Enemies, Foreign and Domestic, A SEAL's Story, and spokesman for the Donald Trump Super PAC, the Great American PAC, Carl Higbe. Gentlemen, thanks so much for being here. We are going to go ahead and get to work with a little bit of sound, as we call it here in the business, because this will start us off. First of all, Bill O'Reilly on Fox News last night. Donald Trump, his buddy, they've talked before many times. Here's where Donald Trump said once again the shackles are off. And O'Reilly, I think, tried to temper it just a little bit. Here's what was said.
What shackles did you have on?
So, Paul, the shackles are some of the establishment people that are weak and ineffective people within the Republican Party, senators and others. And Paul Ryan, led to a certain extent by Paul Ryan.
They were holding
being
you
nasty
back?
to the nominee.
They were holding you
not
back?
Not question holding back, no, but they're not giving support.
I think
confused. I'm better off maybe without their support if you want to know the truth.
So here we go. Michael Brown, I come to you first. Let's just get right to the bone here, if you will, on all this. Are we seeing the implosion, the eradication, if you will, of the current Republican Party, and did they just bring it on themselves?
Oh, I think the Republican Party has been bringing this on themselves for decades now. But I think what fascinates me is, put aside the implosion of the Republican Party, because I think there's an implosion on the Democrat Party too. But we're right now in the middle of quintessential retail politics. And that means one side or the other is going to win, whether we like it or don't like it. One of these two people is going to be elected president. And in this case, for Republicans, that choice is Donald Trump. So my advice to Donald Trump is, you got your base, focus on getting the independents, because otherwise, Bucko, you're going to lose this race.
Would you not say, though, and Carl, I'm going to ask you about this as well, but Michael, what you just said, is it not fair to say, though, that many people are indicating there is no way possible with less than 4 weeks to go that Donald Trump can turn that tide of the independents, and there's no way that he can get the people who don't like him to even consider voting for him simply because it's not in his nature?
Well, I don't know if it's in his nature or not, but I think that he can do it. And he can do it because there are as many people. Look, both of these candidates have high negatives. So if he would focus on the negatives of Hillary Clinton, he might be able to peel off just enough Democrats to win in swing states. But as long as he's attacking Republicans, he's doing nothing to try to bring those independents over to our side.
Carl, there it is right there. The negatives of Hillary Clinton. Let's be honest, Michael hits it right on the dime here. Hillary Clinton has a boatload of negatives about it, but we don't hear about it. Okay, so let's just say at this point, will it even help anything to continue to go after Hillary? Sure couldn't hurt.
Well, he needs to stay on the offensive for sure, but the fact is he also needs to start articulating his policies better. And I think there'd be no better way for him to do that, for him to come into this third debate with two paychecks, each for $6,000. One has the deductions from Hillary Clinton's tax plan, one has the direct deductions from Donald Trump's tax plan. And he shows the American people, here is the difference in our presidency. If you want me, you want this bigger paycheck, pick me. You want this less paycheck, you pick Hillary Clinton. That in itself will set it apart above and beyond any attack he could possibly perform on Hillary Clinton.
1-877-NEWSMAX if you'd like to join us. All right, Carl, I'm smiling just a little bit here because we have heard this before. You're right on the money. Yeah. I'm going to give you that. Michael said it. I've said it. Every single pundit. You can turn the channels. You can go to the dials. You can hit everything in social media. They say exactly the same thing that you're saying, and we've been saying it for 6 months. Why should we believe that Donald Trump will now change? Because he says, I don't need you guys.
But the fact is, he doesn't need to change. The Republican Party needs to change. Donald Trump was elected by an overwhelmingly more people turnout in the Republican primary than ever before. People like Paul Ryan, look, we'd love to have him on our side.
But that's the past, Carl. That's the past. This is now with less than 4 weeks to go, and Republicans want Hillary Clinton to make sure that she doesn't even get a sniff at the White House now. So doesn't he have to change that message right now?
Well, the message is very clear. It's you're with me or you're against me, and it's on my terms because I won the primary. And while Donald Trump is not always perfect, I do believe the Republican establishment and the base of the Republican Party is pushing against guys like Paul Ryan, who in 18 years has passed 3 laws, named a post office, an increased tax on hunting arrows, and something else less significant. But that is what the American people are pushing against. They would prefer Donald Trump over Paul Ryan. It's been overwhelmingly clear.
Okay, let's look at something here. Michael, here you go. Donald Trump talking about Paul Ryan. Here's where he said, I don't need his support and I don't want it. And then the question follows. Here we go.
He had a conference call yesterday with congressmen, with hundreds of them, and they practically rioted against him on the phone. One person stuck up for him. So I'm just tired of non-support, and I don't really want to support. You know, if he calls now and wants to, this happens all the time. If you sneeze, he calls up and announces. Isn't that a terrible thing? So look, I don't want his support.
Michael, you've been around this game a long time. You've been on the inside. If you want to become president, you may hate it. Your teeth may gnash. You may bang your shoe against the table, whatever you want. But isn't it fair to say that if Donald Trump becomes president, he's going to need Paul Ryan. He's going to need these other people in there. You still got to play the game.
You got to play the game. But here's what fascinates me. In that soundbite, Donald Trump wasted an opportunity to go after Hillary Clinton. To Carl's point, everybody wants change. We're all sick of the GOP establishment. We're sick and tired of the way things are working. Donald Trump can't do squat unless he gets elected, number one, and number two, he has a majority in both the House and the Senate in order to accomplish the goals that he wants to accomplish. So to Carl's point, if you really want change, Trump needs to get focused. And I don't care if Paul Ryan, Susan Collins, I don't care who it is, says something that's stupid on the air, ignore it. Focus on Clinton.
I'm gonna stop you here because you're right on the money here. You just said it. If he gets elected, do we not have to continue to remind not only Donald Trump but everybody else that's his responsibility at this point? That's his job. It doesn't make a difference what anybody else is saying. You've got to be accountable and responsible for what you're doing. And Republicans are putting the word behind him saying, go out and get elected, damn it, do the job. He's got to do the job first before he blames anybody else. How's that?
Republicans got to get behind him, too.
Hang on one sec, Carl. Mike, yes?
No, I totally agree. That's why he should become look, Carl's a former Navy SEAL. He knows what discipline is. He knows what it's like to have teamwork. And that's what we have to have here. And you don't have teamwork. Look, if one of your guys is saying something you don't like, you don't go on Twitter, you don't go on the national news, you shut up, you may say something behind the scenes, but you stay focused on the mission. And Trump can't stay focused on the mission. And frankly, as a Republican, it's driving me back crap crazy.
Carl, to you then, 60 seconds. Isn't it fair to say that Republicans are desperate? They're putting their hands together. They're praying right now. Whatever it is, they're screaming, please, Donald Trump, defeat Hillary Clinton. Get on message. We want to get behind you, but you've got to stop this ridiculous nonsense.
Well, you're right, but I don't think he's being that ridiculous by going after the party leaders that are refusing to support him. Donald Trump is the spearhead of the party. And guess what? When you're out on those SEAL team missions and you have one guy who's the head of the group, you listen to him no matter what. You fall in behind him, whether you disagree with him or not, and it might cost you your life, but you go with him and you back him till the end of the firefight. And that's the problem here is the Republican establishment has broken away from its team leader, and they've said, you know what? We're not going to go with you. If that were to happen in a mission, you'd have a lot of dead people. And this is not as severe as that.
Even if that person who is in a leadership role tells you to do things which are against the law, perhaps?
What has he told people to do that's against the law? He's asked people to fall in behind him and campaign.
What about when he has talked about punishing the families of potential terrorists here? What about the potential war crimes that have been talked about, where he has basically said that the military needs to go out and do what he says regardless?
But he's not a president yet. He needs the Republican Party to get behind him to get him elected president so he can make those decisions down the road. Now, if it comes down and he can't do that while he's president, fine. But you know what? On that topic, if you want to go after people in a war zone, you need to go after the people in the war zone that are causing the problems. And if the families are not reporting the problems, they are part of the problem.
Okay, well, let's talk about the war zone that is politics then. We'll leave it there. Gentlemen, hang tight. Carl Higby and Michael Brown will return, as will your phone calls and comments. Get involved and let us know what your considerations are, your thoughts, because we're coming down to the election. We're back right here on America Talks Live.